I still remember the exact moment I realised I wasn't the daughter my parents wanted. It wasn't when they refused to pay for my college education, or even when they pushed me to take that dead-end cashier job. No, it was during my sister Rachel's graduation dinner. To Rachel, my mother raised her wine glass, her pearl necklace catching the light. Top of her class, full scholarship to business school, and the brightest future ahead. We always knew you were destined for greatness. I'm Zara, and I was 17 that night, picking at my pasta while everyone fawned over my older sister. The practical daughter. The reliable one. Code words for not quite smart enough. What about Zara's applications? My cousin Piper piped up from the end of the table. Sweet Piper, 14 and still naive enough to think family meant equal love. My mother's smile tightened. Well, we've had a long discussion about that, haven't we, Zara? I nodded mechanically, the conversation from earlier that week burning in my mind. Be realistic, sweetheart, she'd said, sorting through bills at the kitchen counter. Tech design, programming, that's not really your strength. The electronics store is hiring. They have good benefits. But I've been teaching myself coding, I protested. I could show you my projects, Zara, my father's voice, firm but distant. Listen to your mother. We can't all be Rachel. Back at the graduation dinner, Rachel reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Don't worry, sis. You'll find your level. Her sympathy was worse than mother's dismissal. The next morning, I started my new job at Electromart. Name tag, blue vest, scripted greetings. Welcome to Electromart. How can I help you today? During my lunch break, I locked myself in the employee bathroom and opened my laptop. The MIT OpenCourseware page glowed back at me. Introduction to Computer Science and Programming. Free to audit. You okay in there? My manager knocked on the door. Fine, I called back, quickly bookmarking the page. Just a minute. That night, I created a study schedule. 6 hours of work, 6 hours of online learning, 6 hours of sleep. Repeat. The remaining 6 hours would be split between meals, family obligations, and staying sane. You're working late again? Rachel asked when I missed another family dinner. They must really like you at that store. Someone has to cover the night shift, I said, not mentioning the web development course I was racing to finish. 3 months into my secret studies, I got my first A in the online programming course. I printed the certificate in the break room, hands shaking as I held the paper. What's that? Todd from electronics asked, reaching for it. I crumpled it into my pocket. Nothing. Just a receipt. But in the bathroom, I smoothed it out again. Distinguished performance, the certificate read. Top 5% of participants. I started crying then, quiet tears that tasted of both victory and rage. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I thought about my mother's words. We can't all be Rachel. No, I thought, carefully folding the certificate and tucking it into my wallet. We can't all be Rachel. Some of us have to be better. That night, I created a new email address and started a tech blog under a pen name. I wrote about coding challenges, user interface design, emerging technologies, things my family would never believe I could understand. How was work? My mother asked when I got home, barely looking up from her magazine. Fine, I said, heading upstairs to my room. Just another normal day. But it wasn't normal. It was the beginning. I opened my laptop and started typing, my fingers flying across the keys as I worked on my latest blog post about JavaScript frameworks. Outside my window, I could hear Rachel's car pulling up, probably returning from another networking event. Let them think I'm simple, I decided, as my first blog comment appeared, someone asking for advice about their coding project. Let them think I'm just the spare daughter, the practical one, the girl behind the counter. I'll show them all, just not yet. My phone buzzed, a text from my mother. Rachel just landed the junior executive position. Family dinner tomorrow to celebrate. Wear something nice. I texted back, congratulations, and returned to my coding. On my screen, lines of perfectly structured programming stretched into the night, each character a small act of rebellion. Tomorrow I'd smile and congratulate my sister. I'd wear something nice and play my part. But tonight belonged to me and my secret revolution, one line of code at a time. 3 years passed in a blur of midnight coding sessions and double shifts. My tiny bedroom became command central, one monitor for work emails, another for coursework, and a third for my increasingly popular tech blog. The only decoration was a corkboard covered in post-it notes and certification printouts, carefully hidden whenever family visited. "Your room always looks so basic," Rachel commented during one of her rare visits. "Don't you want to make it more personal?" If only she knew that behind the bland IKEA furniture, I was building something extraordinary. It started with a message on my blog. "Interesting take on non-profit digital infrastructure. Want to collaborate? Elijah." I almost ignored it, but something in his detailed technical feedback caught my attention. We moved to video calls, sharing ideas about how small businesses were being left behind in the digital revolution. "Look," Elijah said one night, his face serious on my screen, "I've got some seed money saved up. With your expertise in UX design and my back-end development skills, we could build something real." I glanced at my Electromart schedule pinned to the wall. I can't quit my job yet. Who said anything about quitting? We start small, work nights, build it right. And so began the double life. By day, I helped customers find the right USB cables. By night, Elijah and I built our consultancy from scratch, targeting small non-profits that couldn't afford big tech firms. Our first client was a local food bank. Their entire inventory system runs on Excel sheets, I explained to Elijah. We could streamline everything, make it mobile friendly for volunteers. "Pro bono?" he asked. "Pro bono, but there'll be our case study." The project was a success. Word spread. Soon we had paying clients. "Zara, you seem distracted lately," my mother noticed during Sunday dinner. "Everything okay at the store?" "Actually," I said, testing the waters, "I've been thinking about taking some business classes. It's honey," she patted my hand. "Focus on what you're good at. Rachel can help you invest your savings if you're worried about money." Rachel beamed. "My firm's doing amazing. I just got another promotion. Junior VP of Marketing." I excused myself early that night, rushing home to join a client call. As my family celebrated Rachel's success with champagne, I closed a deal that would triple our company's revenue. The irony wasn't lost on me. Months later, Elijah and I sat in a real office, our office, staring at our first major contract. "This is it," he said, sliding the paper across the desk. "Fortune 500 company. They want our platform for all their charitable initiatives." My hands shook as I read the figures. 7 digits. Before the decimal point. "We need to hire people," I said. "A real team." "Already lined up interviews." Elijah hesitated. "Zara, you'll have to go public eventually. Be the face of the company. No more hiding behind a screen name." I thought about my family, probably gathering for another celebration of Rachel's meteoric rise. Not yet. That night, my phone buzzed with a family group text. Rachel was hosting a party for her latest promotion. "Wear something nice," my mother wrote. "Professional photographers will be there." I showed up in my Electromart uniform, straight from my shift. "Oh, Zara," my mother sighed. "Couldn't you have changed?" Rachel clinked her glass for attention. "Everyone, thank you for celebrating with me. I'm so excited to announce that my division is launching a new digital marketing initiative." I tuned out her speech, checking my phone under the table. Our new platform had just gone live for the food bank. Their volunteer coordinator sent a message. "You've changed everything for us. Thank you." "To Rachel," everyone cheered. I raised my glass of sparkling water, smiling slightly. Let them have their moment. My time would come. Later, as guests mingled, Elijah called. "We got it," he said, without preamble. "The contract. They signed." I stepped onto Rachel's fancy balcony, looking out at the city lights. "All of it?" "Full amount, plus the expansion clause, Zara. We're not just legitimate now, we're players." I watched through the window as my family posed for photos. Rachel in the centre, radiant in designer clothes bought with her VP salary. "Schedule the press release," I said quietly, "but hold it for now." "Your family still doesn't know, do they?" "They will." I ended the call as my mother waved me in for photos. "Stand in the back, dear," she directed, "and maybe take off the name tag." I left it on, smiling for the camera. Soon enough, they'd see my name somewhere much bigger than a plastic badge. The photographer counted down. 3, 2, 1. Click. The last photo of me as the daughter they thought they knew. The first hint of Rachel's downfall came through a LinkedIn notification. Her profile, usually updated weekly with achievements and inspirational quotes, had gone dark. Then came the whispers, spreading through the industry like wildfire. Did you see this? Elijah forwarded me an article from Business Insider. Major marketing firm, under investigation for fund misappropriation. Rachel's company wasn't named, but I knew. The signs had been there. The increasingly lavish parties, the designer clothes she couldn't possibly afford on even a VP salary. My phone rang. Mother. Have you talked to your sister? Her voice was tight, controlled. No. Why? She's not answering her phone. There are rumours. Horrible rumours. Your father is trying to reach her lawyer. I was about to respond when another call came in, from Mia, Rachel's former colleague who'd recently left the firm. I should take this, I told my mother. Work thing. Mia didn't waste time with pleasantries. Your sister's going down, Zara. She diverted client funds, faked reports, inflated numbers. It's bad. How bad? Criminal charge is bad. The SEC is involved. I sat down at my desk, watching our company's latest software deployment progress on my monitors. Why are you telling me this? Because she tried to drag others down with her, including me. Mia's voice hardened. I kept receipts. The story exploded across media channels that afternoon. Rachel's firm fired her publicly, distancing themselves from the scandal. Their stock plummeted. Partners fled. My parents arrived at my apartment unannounced that evening. I'd barely had time to close my laptop screens showing quarterly projections. We need to talk about Rachel, my father said, pacing my small living room. She's in trouble. My mother sank onto my IKEA couch, looking out of place in her pearls and designer suit. She needs help, Zara. Financial help. What about her savings? I asked, knowing the answer. Gone. My father stopped pacing. The legal fees alone. But you've always been good with money, Zara. Practical. You must have something saved. From my retail job, my mother leaned forward. You still have that promotion money from last year, right? When they made you shift supervisor? I almost laughed. I quit Electromart 8 months ago. They hadn't even noticed. She's your sister, my mother pressed. Family helps family. A knock at the door interrupted us. Rachel stood there, mascara streaked down her face, clutching a designer handbag that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. They froze everything, she stumbled in, collapsing on my couch. My accounts, my assets, even my apartment's being investigated. Start from the beginning, my father said gently. Rachel's story spilled out between sobs. Pressure to perform, creative accounting that got out of hand, borrowing from client accounts to cover losses. The same old story of greed and desperation. I was so close, she whispered. 1 more quarter of good numbers and I would have made senior VP. There must be something we can do. My mother looked around my apartment as if searching for hidden wealth. Zara, you said you were taking business classes. Rachel laughed bitterly. What's Zara going to do? Give me retail management tips? I stood up, walking to my kitchen to make coffee. My phone buzzed. Elijah. Major client asking about expanding the platform. Need your sign-off on the proposal. I texted back. Hold that thought. Zara? My father followed me to the kitchen. We're talking about serious money here. Rachel's legal fees alone are 6 figures. I poured 4 cups of coffee, my mind racing. Years of hiding my success, of playing the reliable but unremarkable daughter, had led to this moment. I might be able to help, I said carefully. Relief flooded my mother's face. I knew we could count on you. You always lived so simply, saving everything. But, I continued, stirring sugar into my cup, we should discuss terms. Rachel's head snapped up. Terms? If I'm going to help, I need to know everything. Every detail, every document, every decision that led to this. Since when are you a financial expert? Rachel's voice took on its old condescending tone, even through the tears. I walked to my laptop, opening it to reveal multiple screens of complex project management software and financial data. Since always, I said quietly, you just never asked. The room fell silent as my family stared at the displays, uncomprehending. What? What is all this? My mother whispered. This? I sat down, taking a sip of coffee. This is what the practical daughter can do when no one's watching. Rachel's mascara-stained face shifted from confusion to dawning realization. Zara, what aren't you telling us? I smiled, remembering all the family dinners I'd missed for night shifts. Everything, I said. I'm not telling you everything. You did what? Elijah nearly choked on his espresso. We were sitting in our office's conference room, early morning light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. I didn't exactly offer to help, I clarified. I just didn't say no. After everything they put you through? He shook his head. Zara, you don't owe them anything. This isn't about owing. I pulled up our company's latest valuation on the screen. It's about being seen, really seen. So what's the plan? Before I could answer, my assistant knocked. Your cousin Piper is here. Piper bounded in, looking professional in a blazer and jeans. At 24, she'd grown into herself, confident in a way I never was at that age. Nice office, she whistled, looking around. Really nice. You knew? Elijah asked her. Please. Piper rolled her eyes. I've been following Zara's blog since she started it. Not hard to connect the dots when your company went public with its client list. I smiled. Does anyone else in the family know? Are you kidding? They're all too busy dealing with Hurricane Rachel to notice anything else. Piper perched on the edge of my desk. Speaking of which, Aunt Scarlett called me this morning, asking if I had any savings to help with the legal fees. Let me guess. Family helps family. Word for word. Piper's expression turned serious. But that's not why I'm here. I want a job. I raised an eyebrow. You have a job. Marketing coordinator at... A real job. Here. With you. She pulled out a tablet, opening a portfolio. I've been studying UX design, created some prototypes. I want to learn from someone who built something real, not just talked about it at charity galas. Looking through her work, I felt a strange mix of pride and recognition. This was what support looked like, not demanded, but earned. We're hosting a client showcase dinner next week, I said slowly. Come as my guest, meet the team. We'll talk about possibilities. After Piper left, Elijah gave me a knowing look. Client showcase dinner? Time to stop hiding. I opened my email, starting a new message. Send invitations to my family. But don't mention my role. Let them think I'm just helping with arrangements. Devious, he grinned. I like it. The responses came quickly. My mother. Lovely that your company trusts you with event planning, dear. Rachel. I shouldn't be seen in public right now. My father. Will there be potential investors there? I forwarded them to Elijah with a single comment. Watch this space. That afternoon, I had another surprise visitor, Mia, Rachel's former colleague. Nice place, she said, examining our office. Very different from Rachel's world of smoke and mirrors. What do you want, Mia? She placed a USB drive on my desk. Insurance. Everything I have on Rachel's creative accounting, including some interesting attempts to interfere with certain tech companies she saw as threats. My hand froze over the drive. What do you mean? Your sister didn't just cook books. She actively tried to sabotage competitors, including, about 6 months ago, a rising tech consultancy that was stealing non-profit clients from her firm's CSR initiatives. My company, I said flatly. Imagine her surprise when she realizes she tried to destroy her only lifeline. Mia stood to leave. Use it however you want. I'm done with the whole family drama. That evening, I sat in my office late, watching the city lights come on. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Rachel's having a hard time. Maybe you could let her stay with you. I picked up the USB drive, turning it over in my hands. All this time, while I was hiding my success, my sister had been actively trying to tear it down. Elijah! I called out, knowing he was still at his desk. Change of plans for the showcase dinner. He appeared in my doorway. Oh? Make it bigger. Much bigger. Full press, industry leaders, everyone who matters in tech and non-profit sectors. Going nuclear. Going honest. I started typing an email to our events team. Time to show my family exactly who they've been underestimating. And Rachel. I thought about the USB drive, about years of being dismissed, about the satisfaction of finally being seen. She wanted to play in the big leagues, I said, hitting send on the email. Let's show her what that really means. My phone buzzed again, Piper sending me her updated portfolio. In her message was a quote, "Success is the best revenge." No, I muttered, starting to draft the showcase dinner speech that would change everything. Truth is. The city glittered below, full of possibilities and promises. In 1 week, I would stand in front of everyone who mattered and tell my story. Not as the practical daughter, the reliable one, the backup plan, but as exactly who I'd become, someone they couldn't ignore anymore. The grand ballroom of the Four Seasons buzzed with energy. Tech executives mingled with non-profit leaders, reporters clutched notepads, and photographers circled the room. In the centre of it all, my family huddled near the bar, looking increasingly confused. "Zara!" my mother hissed as I passed by. "Why are there cameras? I thought this was a client dinner." "It is." I smoothed down my tailored black dress, no name tag in sight. "You should find your seats. The presentation's starting soon." "Presentation?" Rachel looked pale, her designer outfit notably last season. "What exactly is this?" Before I could answer, Elijah appeared at my elbow. "They're ready for you." My mother's eyes widened. "Ready for what?" I smiled, walking toward the stage. Behind me, I heard my father. "Is that Zara's name on the banner?" The spotlight hit me as I took the podium. 300 faces turned my way, including my family's, frozen in disbelief. "Good evening," I began, my voice steady. "I'm Zara, CEO and co-founder of Digital Bridge Solutions." The sharp sound of breaking glass. Rachel had dropped her champagne flute. 3 years ago, we saw a gap in the market. Small businesses and non-profits being left behind in the digital revolution. Today, our platform supports over 500 organisations worldwide, with a market valuation exceeding 9 figures. Photographs flashed. In the audience, my mother gripped my father's arm. "But numbers don't tell the whole story," I continued, clicking to the next slide. "Let me show you what happens when technology meets purpose." The lights dimmed. On the massive screen, the food bank director appeared, our first client. "Before Digital Bridge, we served 200 families weekly. Now we reach over 1,000. More testimonials followed. A domestic violence shelter coordinating safe houses through our secure platform. A literacy non-profit managing virtual tutoring for rural communities. "This is impossible," I heard Rachel whisper. "She's just a retail worker." The lights came up. I locked eyes with my sister. "Today we're announcing a major expansion. Digital Bridge is launching an initiative to provide free digital infrastructure to crisis response organisations nationwide." Applause thundered through the room. I saw Piper in the crowd, beaming. Elijah nodded proudly from the side stage. "Questions?" I asked. A forest of hands shot up. Reporters called out, "Ms. Zara, how did you build this in just 3 years?" "What's your response to recent attempts by traditional firms to block your non-profit partnerships?" I caught Rachel flinching at that last one. The Q&A lasted 20 minutes. I answered everything with calm precision, watching my family's expressions shift from shock to something more complicated. After the presentation, during dinner, my mother cornered me by the dessert table. "Why?" she demanded, voice shaking. "Why did you hide this from us?" "Hide?" I selected a chocolate truffle. I worked on my laptop every night at the dinner table, posted about coding on social media, talked about tech solutions constantly. I met her eyes. "You never looked, never asked, never thought I could be more than what you decided I was." "But Rachel," she started. "Is sitting at table 7, I cut in, where the place card reads Rachel, not executive vice president or marketing genius. Just her name. Like mine on that stage. Just Zara." My father approached, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "The valuation you mentioned, 9 figures. And growing. All this time," he whispered. "All those night shifts. I was building something," I finished. "Something real." The evening wound down. Industry leaders pressed cards into my hands. Reporters requested interviews. Through it all, Rachel sat silent, staring at her untouched dessert. Finally, as guests began leaving, she approached me. "You knew," she said, "about the investigation into your company, about what I tried to do." "Yes." "And this?" She gestured at the room, the banners, the evidence of my success. "This was your revenge." "No, Rachel." I handed her a business card, mine. "This was my truth. The revenge part." I smiled slightly. That's still coming. She paled. What do you mean? You'll need a job after the legal dust settles. Something to show rehabilitation, responsibility. I sipped my champagne. I hear Digital Bridge is hiring. Entry level, of course. You wouldn't. Actually, I would. Because unlike you, I understand the value of starting from the bottom. My mother called out from across the room, waving frantically, still trying to process everything. Better go, I told Rachel. Mum looks worried, though for the first time I don't think it's about you. She turned to leave, then paused. When did you become so cold? I didn't, I replied. I became successful. You're just not used to seeing me as an equal. The last guest filtered out, leaving behind empty champagne glasses and business cards. My family huddled by the exit, looking lost in the wake of my revelation. I gathered my things, nodding to the clean-up crew. Tomorrow the press would run their stories. The headlines would spread. But tonight I'd finally stepped into the light. The morning after the showcase, Rachel showed up at my office unannounced. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, dark circles under her eyes betraying a sleepless night. Security called up, Elijah said from my doorway. Should I send her away? No. I closed my laptop. Let's hear what she has to say. Rachel entered like a ghost of her former self, clutching a manila envelope. The prosecutors called this morning. And? They're offering a deal. She sank into the chair across from my desk. But I need help with the restitution payments. How much? She slid a document across my desk. I glanced at the figure and whistled softly. That's more than your annual salary, I observed. That's more than my salary for 5 years, she corrected, voice cracking. Plus, I need rehab. I raised an eyebrow. Don't act surprised, she snapped. You've seen me at family functions, the drinking. It got worse when everything started falling apart. Actually, I opened my drawer and pulled out Mia's USB drive. I know exactly when it started. 6 months ago, right after you tried to sabotage my company. The colour drained from her face. How did you... You really should have checked who owned Digital Bridge before you started spreading rumours about our non-profit partnerships. I connected the drive to my computer. Want to see the paper trail? I didn't know it was your company. She leaned forward, desperate. I swear, Zara, I was just trying to protect our corporate social responsibility contracts. By falsifying reports about our work? By telling clients we were a fraud? I turned my monitor toward her, showing emails in her own words. You tried to destroy me before you even knew I could save you. Tears spilled down her cheeks. What do you want from me? The truth. I handed her a document. Sign this confession clearing our company's name, agree to 6 months of rehabilitation, and I'll help with the restitution. 6 months? She stared at the paper. I can't disappear for that long. My reputation is already gone, I finished. The only question is whether you want to rebuild it honestly or keep pretending. She picked up the pen, hands shaking. And after rehab? Like I said at the showcase, entry-level position here. You'll learn the business properly this time. No shortcuts. Under you? The old Rachel flickered in her eyes, proud, disdainful. Under Piper, actually. She's heading our new training program. Rachel laughed bitterly. Our baby cousin, who recognised my potential when everyone else dismissed it. I stood up, walking to the window. Sign or don't sign, Rachel. But remember, I'm not the one who needs help. The scratch of pen on paper filled the silence. When she finished, I pressed the intercom. Elijah, can you witness this, please? He entered, nodding professionally to Rachel. As he reviewed the document, my phone buzzed, a text from my mother. We need to talk about your sister. I typed back, already handling it. There's one more thing, Rachel said as Elijah left. Mum and Dad, they're struggling with this, all of it. Their golden child falling from grace, or the spare daughter succeeding. Both. She stood, smoothing her rumpled blazer. They keep asking how they missed it, how they never saw. They saw what they wanted to see. I filed the signed confession in my safe. Just like you did. And now, what do you want them to see? I smiled, remembering all the family dinners where I was invisible. Everything. Starting with their daughter, getting the help she needs. Rachel paused at the door. I really am sorry, Zara. Not just for trying to hurt your company. For all of it. For every time I made you feel less than. I know. I picked up my phone as it buzzed again. Another text from Mother. That's why I'm helping. Because unlike you, I don't need to destroy someone to prove my worth. After she left, Elijah came back in. You're really going to help her? After everything? I'm going to help her become better, I corrected. There's a difference. And your parents? I looked at my mother's increasingly frantic texts. They need to learn that family support goes both ways. That the daughter they wrote off isn't just successful, she's necessary. Cold, he grinned. Strategic, I countered. Rachel's not the only one who needs to face reality. My phone rang. Mother again. This time I answered. Zara, she began. About Rachel's situation. Yes, I cut in. I know about the prosecutor's deal, and the rehab, and everything else you're about to pretend you just found out about. Silence on the line. Come to my office tomorrow, I continued. Both you and Dad. It's time we had a real conversation about family, support, and consequences. I hung up before she could respond, turning back to my work. Tomorrow would bring its own battles, but today, the truth had finally started to sink in. My parents arrived exactly on time, looking like they were attending a funeral rather than visiting their daughter's office. Mother wore her best, grieving but dignified expression, while Father kept adjusting his tie nervously. The receptionist called you Ms. President, Mother said as they sat down. CEO, actually. I gestured to the coffee service. Help yourselves. Father cleared his throat. About Rachel's situation. Let's start with something else, I interrupted, pressing a button on my desk. A projector screen descended, displaying a familiar image, my high school graduation photo. Let's start here. Zara, Mother sighed. This isn't the time for... This was the day you told me college wasn't worth the investment. I clicked to the next slide, my old Electromart name tag. The day you decided my future. We were being practical, Father protested. No. Another click, my first coding certification. This was practical. This was me, working full shifts, then studying until 3 a.m. This was me, being exactly who you refused to see. More slides followed. My early blog posts, first client contracts, company incorporation papers. All this time, Mother whispered, while we were celebrating Rachel's promotions. I was building something real. I pulled up our company's financial statements. Something that could have helped Rachel if she hadn't tried to destroy it first. They stared at the numbers, comprehension dawning. She tried to... What? Father's voice cracked. I played the audio recording from Mia's files, Rachel's voice clear as she outlined plans to undermine our non-profit partnerships. Stop, Mother pleaded. Just stop. Why? I leaned forward. Because it hurts to see your perfect daughter's true colours? Or because it hurts to realise how wrong you were about your backup plan? We were trying to protect you, Mother burst out. You were so quiet, so ordinary. You thought limiting me was protecting me. I stood up, walking to the window overlooking the city. You thought pushing me down would keep me safe. Meanwhile, you pushed Rachel so high she couldn't help but fall. Silence filled the room. Finally, Father spoke. What happens now? I turned back to them. Rachel signed a confession this morning. She's entering rehab next week. A good facility, very private. When she's done, she'll start here at entry level. Working for you? Mother looked scandalised. Working for herself, actually. Learning what it means to earn something instead of just taking it. And us? Father asked quietly. What do you want from us? I sat back down, meeting their eyes. I want you to understand something. Every time you dismiss me, every time you praised Rachel's shortcuts while ignoring my hard work, you weren't just hurting me. You were failing both your daughters. We never meant, Mother began. I know what you meant. I pulled out 2 folders. Inside these are detailed reports of Rachel's actions, including her attempts to sabotage my company. I'm giving you copies so you understand exactly what your parenting style created. One daughter who thought she could take whatever she wanted, and another who had to fight for everything. They took the folders with trembling hands. This is... Father flipped through the pages. This is cruel, Zara. No, I corrected. Cruel was watching your daughter struggle at a retail job and calling it finding her level. Cruel was celebrating mediocrity in one child while stifling excellence in another. This is honesty. Mother started crying softly. Father just stared at the documents, his face ashen. I don't need your approval anymore. I continued. I don't even need your understanding. But Rachel needs help, real help, and that starts with all of us facing the truth. A knock at the door, Piper entered with a tablet. Sorry to interrupt, but the rehab facility needs the final paperwork signed. Thank you. I took the tablet, then paused. Actually, Piper, stay. Mum, Dad, Piper's heading our new training division, the one Rachel will enter after rehab. Mother looked up through her tears. Piper? But she's so young. She's qualified, I cut in, and more importantly, she sees people for who they are, not who she wants them to be. Piper straightened, professional and confident. The program's ready whenever Rachel is. Father stood suddenly. Zara. For the first time in my life, he looked directly at me, really seeing me. You were right, about everything. I know. I signed the rehab papers and handed them to Piper. That's why I'm the one fixing it. As they left my office, Mother turned back. Are we still family? Yes, I said softly, but on new terms, my terms. The door closed behind them. Through the glass walls of my office, I watched them walk away, shoulders bent under the weight of truth. Piper stayed behind. That was intense. That, I replied, was necessary. The autumn wind rustled through the courtyard of the rehabilitation centre as Rachel walked out, carrying a small duffel bag. No designer labels this time. Her face was clearer, her eyes sharper than I'd seen them in years. Ready? I asked, standing beside my car. She nodded, taking a deep breath of fresh air. 6 months sober. Still feels strange. The drive to the office was quiet until Rachel broke the silence. Mum sent me photos of my old apartment being cleared out. All those things I thought were so important. You can stay in the company apartment until you find your feet, I said, pulling into the parking garage. But remember. I know. She managed a small smile. No special treatment. I start at the bottom like everyone else. Piper was waiting in the lobby with an employee badge and orientation packet. Welcome to Digital Bridge Solutions, Rachel. Your desk is this way. I watched them walk off, Rachel following Piper like a chastened student. My phone buzzed. A text from Mother. Is she there? Is she okay? Instead of replying, I called her. Why don't you come see for yourself? You'd allow that. As long as you remember, this is a workplace, not a family reunion. Mother arrived an hour later, hovering uncertainly by reception. Through the glass walls, we could see Rachel at her desk, concentrating on Piper's training presentation. She looks different, Mother observed. She is different. I led her to my office. We all are. Your father wanted to come, but he's still processing the fact that his backup daughter outperformed his star player? Mother flinched. He's trying, Zara. We both are. That's why... She pulled out an envelope. We want to invest in your next expansion. I didn't touch the envelope. With what? Rachel's legal fees must have drained your savings. We're selling the lake house. She placed the envelope on my desk. The one we bought for Rachel's executive retreats that never happened. Keep it, I said firmly. We just closed a major funding round. Digital Bridge doesn't need family money. It's not about need, her voice cracked. It's about believing in you. Finally, properly believing in you. That's not something you can buy back. I know. She straightened her shoulders. So tell me how else I can earn it. Before I could respond, Elijah knocked on the door. Sorry to interrupt, but the food bank director is here for the platform upgrade meeting. Send her in. I turned to my mother. Stay. Watch what your practical daughter built. The director entered, Maria, our first ever client. She hugged me warmly before sitting down. The new volunteer coordination system is amazing, she gushed. We've doubled our delivery capacity since last month. As we reviewed metrics and planned improvements, I caught my mother watching with growing comprehension. This wasn't just business success. This was meaningful change. Speaking of changes, Maria said, pulling out her phone. Look what came in the mail. It was a thank you card from a family who'd received food deliveries. Before your program, Maria explained, they were falling through the cracks. Now they get consistent help. After Maria left, Mother remained silent for a long moment. This is what you were trying to tell us about, she finally said. All those years ago, when you talked about technology making a difference. Yes, and we didn't listen. No, she stood up slowly. I should go, but Zara... Her eyes met mine. I'm proud of you. Not because you proved us wrong, but because you proved yourself right." After she left, I walked to the training room where Piper was wrapping up Rachel's orientation. "How's she doing?" I asked quietly. "Surprisingly well," Piper replied. "She's actually listening. Really listening." Rachel looked up from her computer. "This coding tutorial? It's from your old blog, isn't it? The one you wrote while working at Electromart." "First thing I ever created that mattered," I confirmed. "I wish I'd read it back then." She turned back to the screen, determination replacing her old arrogance. "I wish I'd read anything you wrote." "Read it now," I said simply. "That's what matters." Walking back to my office, I passed the wall of client testimonials. Each one represented someone we'd helped, a problem we'd solved, a community we'd strengthened. Elijah caught up with me. "Board meeting in 10 minutes, you ready?" I looked around, at Rachel learning to code, at Piper confidently leading training, at my mother's untouched envelope on my desk. "You know what?" I smiled. "I've been ready for years. They're just finally seeing it." The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the space I'd built from nothing but determination and defiance. They called me the practical daughter, the reliable one, the spare option. They were right about practical, wrong about everything else. But that was okay. Some lessons take time to learn. Some truths need to be earned, and some daughters need to be seen to be believed.